What's up everyone, I am back looking more homeless than ever. Today we're going to be taking you through the best current raid team and one alternate option for June 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you...
In the galactic justice system, one titan seeks to bring balance to all. In Marvel Strike Force, the dedicated operatives who dedicate themselves to this cause are members of an elite squad, known as the Black Order Unit. These are their stories.
Alright folks, welcome back. I'm Chewburger84. This is Alternate Reality. Make sure you hit that like button, smash that notifications bell so you can see this content going forward. I'm going to try and go through this as quickly as we can, and we're going to do a lot of different node play today. This is what we're calling the More in Order team. Why? We don't know, it doesn't make any sense, we just thought it would be fun. So look, call it whatever you want. This is the team that I was using in DD3 a couple of weeks back. As soon as we got into Ultimus 7, we realized this is pretty much the best squad that we have right now. It can one-shot, obviously RNG is dependent. Every single node in Ultimus 7 for the first 3 to 4 difficulties, right up until that War Machine node. It is only the Ultimus where you cannot use this team to one-shot it. They get annihilated right out of the gate. So let me talk about the strengths and the weaknesses of this team and why this team works so well. And today I'm going to show you one alternate version of this as well, just in case you haven't got your Hela to T13 or T14 yet. Now let's talk about why this team works so well, and a lot of it has to do with this guy right here, Ebony Maw. Now this guy is ludicrously good because he makes Thanos relevant again. And the fact that we have Ultimus 7 now scaling in a way that the enemy has low health, it means that that energy feed is again the pinnacle of what drives this team. But we need to keep him alive as much as we can, and that's exactly what Maw does. The biggest weakness of Ebony Maw is, of course, energy. And because he has such long cooldowns, what's really, really cool is that Thanos can basically get around that when you are not using a full Black Order team. Now, his special is really what gives this team a great opener. He's a very fast character, just above 120, and he's going to give defense up to your entire team and offense down to the enemy team all at the same time. This is essential to making this team work. Now, 5 cooldown on this seems excessively high, but if you're getting kills off thanks to Black Bolt, that does not matter. So this really drives the team pretty hard. And this ult is very good as well. It's not so much about the healing, but you do get that little bit of a bump of speed bar happening. You do get some heal happening, but you are applying slow for the enemy for 2 turns. The cooldown again on this is ridiculous. So the key to this team is killing things fast. Now, who you kill is really, really important because you can't just run with this team like any other team. You have to play it specifically. And what you want to do is, whenever possible, you want to target hero controllers. All right, you want to hit the Scarlet Witches. You want to hit characters like Vision, Hawkeye, anyone that's a hero controller. You want to smash them as quickly as possible because you will get immunity to your entire team, which means you're not going to get heal blocked, which is the one weakness that this team currently has. And then you're going to get this barrier up, okay? Now that means you're getting even more defensive capability. So this is really, really important. You need to focus on these things because of Ebony Maw. Now Thanos, we don't really need to go through his empowered version in this discussion because you all know him. We've been using him for years. The reason he is so good is this right here. When an enemy dies, he generates 2 ability energy for himself or an adjacent cosmic ally. There is a randomness, of course, but this is why you want to put him between Maw to get his defensive cooldowns more up, especially that defense up. And Black Bolt, you want to be able to roll his ult as often as possible. So the more you kill, basically the faster your team goes. Now, there is some protection that's provided to him thanks to the passive from Maw as well, and that is again the reason this team works. Black Bolt, he's there for DPS, all right? The whole thing you want with this guy, he's going to use his basic to be able to strip off some buffs from the enemy team, but it's really about his ult. You want to feed this kid energy so he just goes boom, boom, boom for the entire raid, and that's going to feed energy. Once the first ult goes off, it is a proverbial rolling stone, all right? You really get up and running, and it just takes over all by itself. Now, Hela, the reason why I think she is the best version of this team at the moment is mainly because of Greg, her ability to share bleeds across the enemy team, to share any sort of debuffs at all. But what Greg basically does for us is that when he dies, he does reduce the speed bar of all enemies by 10%. Now, there's a lot of splash damage in these raids, all right? That's going to hit more than one character. If it hits him and he dies, that winds back their turn meter even more. Because you have more throwing up slows constantly, this is massive. And the fact that you get the disrupts out of her as well, you can stop tanks like Juggernaut from ever getting their big buffs off, and you can basically then share that with the entire enemy team if you have the T4 in this because it lasts for 2 turns. It's a really strong synergy. Now, this does mean the comeback of Minerva as well. She fell off after earlier Ultimus 6. She fell off after DD2. She is back with a vengeance. She's essential for DD3 Cosmic, and she is wonderful in this team. Because the downside of using a tank like Thanos, even with all the buffs that he has gotten, he is going to die. At some point, he is going to die because he has a taunt. Everything is hitting him, even with those death proofs he starts off with. You need her in this team to bring him back, okay? Now, there's an alternate of this team, which we're going to show you today as well. So let's say you've taken your Black Bolt up, but you haven't quite taken your Hela yet, but you've still got that Starlord up from DD2. Another variation of this team, you change the combination a little bit. You take out Hela and you put him in between Black Bolt and Minerva. Or you can just put him just next to Black Bolt, but if you want some safety and backup, you can just put him on the other side of Minerva as well. We're going to try probably the more aggressive version today. The reason for this is 2 abilities. Number 1, he can blind up to 3 targets if you T4 this. Let's say he's going to guarantee 2. And that by itself provides extra damage mitigation because you don't take the damage from a blinded character. That's awesome. And then you have this ability energy feed to adjacent allies. Now, this is really, really important because that means extra energy again. So if you want to have Black Bolt going off even more frequently, I do believe there's a viability to Starlord, albeit the fact that he is very squishy. He's nowhere near as tanky as Hela, and Hela provides Greg, which every now and again the AI just goes moron mode, and they just keep hitting Greg, and you get to live, because a Captain Marvel hit that instead of you. I do think that he's probably not as good as Hela, but I do think that he's viable on most nodes all the way up to probably the end War Machine. On War Machine, he may struggle a little bit because there is some spiky damage there. And look, on the higher difficulties, there is RNG as well. So we're going to do our testing today in Ultimus 7 difficulty 2, all right, which is about the same as the old one. So let's show you how this team works. All right, so we're going to start off with the more in order full team first, and we're going to start off with everyone's favorite node, which is mechs and minions. So this is my first node of the day. Thank you, Darth, for clearing the way for me. So this is the formation that I like. The reason is you need the DPS very regularly coming out of Black Bolt, and you definitely need more with the most cooldowns. What we're really using Minerva here is not so much for her ult, but for her passive heals. You see, every kill that we get, she's going to passively heal this team up. The Starlord version focuses more on her ult, but we'll come to that in a little while. Okay. Now what you want to do is start off with Thanos onto the War Machine. He's going to put an offense down there. Not that it matters though, because then you're going to get Ebony Moore, who's going to put offense down for 2 turns anyway. And then basically you can start your run. All right, so I do like to start off with Hela, just basically getting rid of that War Machine. Then we can start chipping away at this Iron Man. Let's see if we can get rid of his offense up. Yes, we do. He got it back though from a different minion. What a jerk. And then Black Bolt's going to get rid of him, and then we're going to get the drop onto the next phase. And that means we've already got energy feeding out to our characters in the middle there. So we only got 1 energy out here. What I'm going to do is use this a little bit just to wind a little bit of turn meter back. It's not much because we've only got 2 of the Black Order at this stage. Now, again, our main targets at this point are, of course, those 2. Now, we want to get offense down back up on everyone else. The best way to do that is to use Hela. We have an offense down on this minion down here. We're going to spread that with everyone. That's our insurance policy. That's how we make sure that that doesn't come back to bite us if I can't kill the people that I want to. Although that's not going to be a problem because the DPS from this train is absolutely massive. Now, in a different world, I would absolutely use this ult here. The thing is, you want to try and guarantee that you always go into the next node with absolutely full black bolt ready to go. Now, because I know this node pretty well, I just know that we don't need to do that ult, all right? We don't need to leave it up to RNG. We're gonna be able to get through to that next node without using any of that. All right, let's make sure we drop that Iron Man. It's probably a bit of a waste, but we got the energy back anyway. What I will do here is I will actually use the taunt. We wanna make sure that's up for the next node. But at the same time, we really need to make sure that we don't lose one of these characters on the side here. In fact, that probably was a mistake. I think we would have been just fine without doing that. In fact, now we're at a bit of a risk where we won't actually get that taunt back. That energy went to Thanos, which is good. We need more to go to him on these last 2 kills. And ideally, we'd love to get him to have 1 turn as well. All right, but unfortunately, Hela's going to do too much damage. Black Bolt's going to finish it off. Looks like he got a little bit of energy there, but I am a little bit nervous we're going to be going into this boss node without that taunt ready to go. Let's find out if I am right. Okay. All right, so same team again. So realistically, it's a very simple team. Get the kills, make Black Bolt go as often as possible, energy feedback to Moore and Black Bolt, and repeat. Minerva's there to pick up the pieces and resurrect it when Thanos inevitably dies. The only nodes where this team it's gonna go very, very dark side is if they have something like a massive Korath, or if you don't have your taunt ready to go, and what happens at the start is that Minerva gets targeted. Fortunately, we do have that taunt up, little bit of luck there that we got energy feed onto Thanos, and now we start again. We defense up our team, we offense down their team, and round we go, folks. All right. Now this time we are going to use the ult in the interest of time. Okay, so we're going to get some little clip damage there. Now this is one of those instances where we do have a fair bit of outgoing damage, and this is where Thanos could absolutely drop, but if he doesn't, the passive heals from the kills we're about to get from Minerva, that's probably going to be enough to start bringing that back up. A little bit of healing coming out from Moore as well, starting to get the passives. We don't really need to heal Thanos with the ult from Minerva because he has his ultimate. Remember that when you do this, it is a lot of damage. He can heal himself up a very significant amount. Be very careful of wasting that Minerva ult because remember, we don't have her on energy feed. All right, now Loki is someone that we don't want to mess around with too much. We do have our Thanos with 2 death proofs up, so it wouldn't matter if, you know, he got a big hit off there anyway because he wouldn't die, but there's no point in messing with that system. All right. And this, yeah, so we've got 9 people left. It's always about watching this number up here, folks. You always want to make sure you've got just enough damage up your sleeve to be able to beat the timer, but then you want to finish the node on full cooldowns. With this team, there are 2 to 3 things you must have off cooldown. Number 1 is Thanos' taunt. You must always have this for this team to work. Now, we killed a controller there, so notice that we have our barrier up. Okay. Now, you always want to have the defense up, ready to go as well from Ebony Moore. And then in a perfect world, you want to have the... I'm actually going to use... No, I'm not. I was going to use the ult for extra damage. In a perfect world, you want to have Black Bolt with his ultimate up, ready to go as well. It's not as important, but it really, really helps, folks. Okay, now we're going to use this ult here. Now that may mean we go into the next node without it on him. Let's see where the energy feeds. A little bit to Greg, a little bit to Moore. All right, and see the passive heals coming out from Minerva the whole time? That's really why she's here, folks. She's here to feed that out. Yes, her ultimate is very good, but ultimately we're here for the res and the passive heals. Now that is a heck of a lot of damage. That is what Ultimus 7 is all about these days, folks. They're a lot squishier than they were. This is not going to give me much in the way of heals, and again, we just want to get as much as we can into the next node so I can try and save on using a heal. I think what I might do proactively is use it anyway. So we finished with 2 minutes on the clock, and with difficulty 2, difficulty 3, that's pretty much what you can expect from this team, even with a couple of mistakes along the way. Now let's show you the alternate version of that, so more in order light, if you will, which involves the Starlord play. Okay, for the next node, we're going to use more in order light or more in order diet, whatever you're going to call this team. Basically, it's the variant that involves Starlord, so if you don't have Hela, this is an option. I don't think it's as good because you do lose a little bit, and one of it is a little bit of luck, because what you get with Greg, the minion for Hela, is you get a little bit of coverage. So for example, this node here is very dangerous for RNG because of Loki. Now, if they decide they're going to go really in on the Minerva at the start, you're in trouble. Now, what happens when you have Greg? That's one more target, so the odds of them hitting Minerva is a little bit lower, okay? Now, if they did kill the Starlord, that doesn't matter because we have Minerva ready to go. The main thing is they didn't kill Minerva. That is one thing that can go wrong on this node or any of the nodes where you do have someone going very quick like that with a Loki, all right? Especially if it's Black Bolt, because there are no resurrections from there, my friends. All right, now we definitely use that ult for Minerva, ladies and gents. Now we go into the ultimate from Black Bolt as well. We're going to get some kills right away there. Now we do have our barrier going up, all right, because we had a couple of their controllers die. That puts us in a much better spot. Now we can clip away another couple of them with the heal there. So this is looking very, very good. I mean, we're way ahead of where we would hope to be on this node, especially with this version of the team. All right, now this is normally where I would love to have, to be honest, the Hela, because with this stage you can put the Disrupt up, which basically means that he's not going to get those abilities. Now I could just murder him, I could just go in and just do this. The downside is that the Mystique will go. That's not going to be too big a deal in this team though, because you've got a Taunt up, which means they are going to hit the Thanos, which is really good. Now, I'm actually going to blind the Mantis here. The reason you want to do that, folks, is that Mantis would stun someone possibly, all right? We don't have a Disrupt on Thanos. We don't want to ruin the cycle of this team, so let's stop that in its tracks. All right, now Heal Block, as I said, it is the enemy of this team because it is going to slow things down. So what we want to do now, because the heals aren't going out, is we just want to keep killing controllers where we can. All right, I think I'm going to go just for this special here. I want to try and save my ult for the next node if we can, because we want to, with this team especially, we need to be as careful as we possibly can. All right, let's put, actually he already had his ultimate up, so that was definitely a waste, boys and girls. We could have just gone for his basic, that would have been fine, because the damage we're going to get on these next couple turns is going to be more than enough to end this. I'm just going to go this special here, just because I think there's probably enough damage. Actually, let's put a bleed on her just in case. All right, now we can start in on the Mordos. Okay. Now she did a little bit of her healing magic where she redistributed the health between those three. Now, if we take her down on this particular turn, that means that we're going to get a little bit of barrier to finish this out. And then pretty much everyone here is finishing with full energy, every ability, every cooldown is ready to go. That's why I don't think it is a huge step down to use this variation instead of the Hela. I do like the Hela better, but this is one that I've wanted to test for the last couple of days, and this is my first chance to jump into Ultimus 7 and really give it a red hot go. Ultimately, I want to get up to the Vision boss. I want to do our testing here. That one is very one-shottable with more and enough time in the world to spare when you are using the full More in Order squad. What I want to do today with you guys is see if we can do exactly the same with the Starlord variation. And obviously, we'll come up with some better names for this. Unfortunately, I haven't been home, folks. I haven't had time to really plan this out. This is literally me testing in real time with you guys, as well as what I was doing in DD2 in some downtime. And of course, DD3 is which I've been using as a playground. And that's how we came up with this raid team in the first place. Now, that team was good enough to place second on the leaderboards for the hardest node of DD3. Of course, I've dropped away since because everyone has got much better versions now of my team than where it was, you know, bigger red stars and whatnot. So, and then they played it better than me as well. So yeah, that's working out quite well in DD3. This exact same team with the Hela is perfection in DD3 Cosmic. You're going to race through it. It was only 6 attempts for me on the boss node. I think it can be done in less, probably 4, I think is the cap at this stage, unless you've got really big reds. All right, let's just keep plugging away here. All right, now we get our first kill. Now we can start the energy. All right, let's just keep those offense downs coming. We probably could have saved that for the drop. In fact, it probably would have been smarter to do that. I think what we're going to do here is just rely on the kills. So we're going to get everyone nice and low, and then that way, once we get this drop in here, we can try and... Okay, so we need to target the Mystique now because we don't have a taunt up on Thanos. When you don't have a taunt up on Thanos, that means we are in the danger zone, ladies and gentlemen, because that means she could target Minerva. And if she targets Minerva, that's a huge threat. Now, Carnage and Spider-Man are the ones that you want to blind out here. Carnage puts out a lot of bleeds, and then Spider-Man with the defense downs as well. Neither of those is good. To be honest, you can pick your target of those two. It's not really going to matter much. You want to try and offense down the Spider-Man on his second turn, though, because you don't want to risk a stun coming out. All right, we can probably afford to actually use this offensively here, the same way you would perhaps in DD2. And because we've got time closing in on us, well, we got 3 minutes, we got plenty of time really, we're going to use the ult. Now, the energy went 3 to Black Bolt, so we're probably going to be okay. We want to get the offense down here, and we want to target... It actually doesn't matter on the Mystique. What I don't want to happen, though, is I don't want to have our Carnage going. Now, we had 3 energy come out from Thanos. We had 2 energy come out from Starlord into Black Bolt, so he's pretty much good to go for another ult, which means we don't have to worry too much about him. Now, let's just start killing people. Probably should have held the Thanos ult there, if anything. Sorry, his taunt. We probably could have held that over until the next node. There is a little bit of damage that comes out from this Daredevil, though, so we probably want to try and drop him as much as we can. He did have the offense down, so it probably wouldn't have been that brutal, but we don't want to leave these things to chance, because if he does get a really good ult away, just like that, all right, he can put a heck of a lot of damage. Now, in situations like this, sometimes it actually would be even better if he died there, because he'd come back with more health. You could res him using Minerva, and then you'd be good to go. Now we want to try and passively heal him up with the deaths of these 3. All right, we want to try and get, obviously, regens up on him as well, which I don't think we'll get. I will get 1 here from Minerva. All right, we don't need to use that right now. I'm going to use this just for a little bit more health, just in the interest of trying to save a little bit on healing, although I think I'm going to have to use that energy today, because if we don't, there is a chance that obviously going into a boss node with the slightly worse version of this team. Now, this was definitely misplaced by me, right? Trying to get so cute with making sure that every ability is good to go for the next node. Sometimes if you don't drop someone fast enough, especially if that is a Daredevil or a Mystique at the end, now I'm probably going to have to heal a couple of these guys if I don't want to stress about dying on this node. We want to give this the best opportunity possible at success, so we are going to have to heal the Thanos and the Minerva. I don't think we need to res the Starlord. In fact, I'm going to leave him low, because sometimes I swear these nodes are programmed to hit the lowest health character, and that might mean that he'll die. I can bring him back with 2 death proofs with the Minerva Resurrection, which we haven't had to use yet. And that would definitely give us a good place to start. Now, the beautiful thing is we have a nice juicy Hawkeye right there, ready to go. And exactly what we thought might have happened. Okay, we did lose the Starlord right away. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit the blind anyway, just because, yeah, we can stop that Vision doing his thing now. We didn't need it for the energy for Black Bolt, because we know that his ult is ready to go. But the good news is now we can start getting some barrier up when we kill this Hawkeye in a sec. All right, now that he has used these ults, we got lucky there that the energy refeed went back into Starlord. That means that Black Bolt this time probably isn't going to have his ult quite yet. Now, that was a really lucky thing from that Vision. I swear to God, removing a taunt from a Thanos like that, that is really cheeky and actually puts us into a little bit of a bad spot. We really need a kill here for barrier. So what we're going to do here is, yeah, we're going to finish off that cheeky little Hawkeye. And then we're going to come back at this. All right, now the next target is probably going to be our Scarlet Witch. Again, we also want to buy ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. Now that was a nice heal by Moore, all right? The more people on the map, a lot of people kind of criticize the way that his ult works. You know, obviously it's not on paper as good as Minerva, but it's just fine. And look, the reality is with all that barrier and regens flying around, I mean, he's doing his job just fine. I mean, look at all this barrier we're now rocking on with. So, I mean, that's really, really handy, and that's ultimately what this is about. You're going to play it a little bit different to the old teams of Yo Hobo and Tech Wing. It's all about just feeding energy, feeding barriers, because they hit so hard. Like, look at how much damage that's taking. And what's really frustrating now as well is the amount of focus and resistance boost that these nodes have had. Like, how many times now have we had Thanos stripped? All right, to have a taunt removed from a Thanos is maddening to me, because I don't think I've ever had that happen when I've wanted to do it, and that's just very, very cheeky, folks. All right. Okay, so we're in a little bit of a danger zone. Most characters are looking good, except for our Starlord. Fortunately, he still has the DF proofs. I don't know why I keep saying defense down in that part. Now, the bad news is he does have heal blocks. So normally we'd get all these passive heals coming out. Now, that's actually a perfect blind because you really wanted that to go on Venom so that he can't stick anything of his. And Goblin, you don't want him doing his ult either. Now, any node that has minions on it is a node that is wonderful when you have a Thanos, boys and girls, because it just becomes free energy for your team. All right, it's just free. All right, let's get everyone up into a pretty good place. We probably could have saved that for the next turn, but we're going to rock straight into that ult, so it does not matter. We'll finish with some protective barriers. We do have that Daredevil. Let's get this up on the Vision. It's not going to matter for the other two because they hit through it regardless. And again, this is one of those situations where we probably would have preferred really to have young Starlord die. But that's okay. We're going to get a little bit of passive healing here at the end. We've got that barrier to buy us a little bit of time. A little bit more passive healing here. Come on, let's get those heals, Minerva. Look at that. Like I said, folks, that's why she's here. It is that passive heal that she provides that means that you don't necessarily have to feed the energy to her the same way that we did in DD2. So this is a very functional version of this team. I honestly think both of these versions work fine. If you have a big symbiote Spider-Man, he's definitely a good fifth as well. But I do think that the Black Bolt, the Moore, the Thanos, and the Minerva, they're the key. They are the order, and you have more really powering that team. So look, what do you guys think of the More in Order team? I get it, the name is dumb, it's silly, it's cheeky, but look, you know, we're gonna call it something, right? So look, put your feedback in the comments below, folks. Again, make sure you hit that like, that subscribe, that notifications bell. Make sure you visit the Alternate Reality website, and until next time, cheers.